Audubon 2456.
State of the Save is back with episode 2 of our new season. Thank you everybody who listened to last episode, part 1 of Fallen Order. Thank you for joining us again. It's me, Eric. With me as always is Michael. How you doing, Michael?
Yes, famously episode 2 of Star Wars. The best episodes of Star Wars.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's a wonderful way of us wording this. That's not going to make people shut things off right from the get-go. I don't know. I think we've got to the point that the generational change has happened, so a lot of people view those movies in a lot more favorable light than we do. Or at least I did.
I'm right on like the tail end of that where I'm like recognize, yeah, the prequels have some bad stuff in them, but man, do I like those movies.
We'll just go ahead and choose violence right from the get-go.
I'll stand by Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith freaking slaps. It rules.
I choose violence right from the get-go. The more recent movies has made those movies look a lot better. You look at the more recent offerings, and you go, boy, at least those other movies told original stories and had ideas and thought put into them. Isn't that nice?
I'll agree with that. Yeah, this new trilogy kind of not... Oh, God, I'm not going to start with this, aren't I? I'll leave it at this. Rise of Skywalker ruined the whole thing. I love The Last Jedi. As an individual movie, I think that's one of the best Star Wars movies, but as a whole, that sequel trilogy is a absolute mess and crumbles under the weight of not knowing what it wants to do. I can look at the first two as individual movies and go, cool! Star Wars! And then that's where that ends.
We can talk about this on this video game show, because there's a show about a Star Wars game today, but I do not like The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker is
It's bad.
It's amazing that film exists.
Oh boy.
But we'll turn this back into video game talk on this video game show.
We'll end it here, or we'll be here all
Yeah,
day.
and then we'll move on.
Cut it off.
I have just, like Fallen Order, I pick and choose the Star Wars that I consume now.
Yeah, same.
And that's the best way to do it, because there's too much of it. There's too much Star Wars, so you just pick and choose the stuff that you're interested in, and you ignore the rest of it.
It's like a mixtape.
Exactly, it's a mixtape. It's like a Warped Tour compilation from the early 2000s, where you're like, yeah, this NoFX track is pretty good, and let's just ignore these like 8 different Screamo bands, and then we'll move on to this Bad Religion track.
We attack fans of the prequels and Screamo fans in the first...
Yeah, ain't nobody admitting to be Screamo fans in the year 2023. I was alive and was on Warped Tours with those at that time where people were doing Screamo stuff, and I was there. I saw them from the crowd. I watched the Screamo bands, and no one is making passionate defenses of the Screamo bands in year 2023. If you would like to make a passionate defense of Screamo, please feel free to send us an email. I will discuss this with you, but I do not believe it exists. No one's like, oh man, they all had dumb names too. Let's just throw that in there too.
People are like, when's the next Silverstein record?
Yeah, Silverstein.
So I like a few of their songs. I'm not gonna lie.
I wouldn't even say Silverstein though is like a definition of a Screamo band.
That was just the thing that came to my mind.
I'm trying to think of some of them, but I've blocked them out like a bad memory. I've been thinking a lot about early 2000s Warped Tour because I've been reading a book called Sellout that I'm almost finished with, which is all about the early 2000s and people getting, bought by major labels and things like that. And the Warped Tour pops up constantly. And my favorite thing is it's described as this thing in the dark past, and in reality was a time when I was a teenager. So I feel old.
I like that we're thinking about like that era of music and pop punk in different ways, because I was thinking about how in a couple weeks we got a new Paramore record. Fall Out Boy is going back to pop punk music and released a pretty banger of a song. And there was like, and Blink-182 has Tom back in it and is going on tour.
And their song they released was pretty good too. They actually released that Edging song.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's not a bad song. It's a pretty good song.
If you go on the subreddit, it's divided on that song like it is with regular Blink-182. It took me a little bit because I'm the guy who's like, man, Dogs Eating Dogs was a killer EP, and I kind of hope we do something more with that. And then they kind of went back to like more of like nostalgia focused Blink, but then I listened to it more and went, nah, this is a good time. I'm having fun.
It's a good song.
Okay, if they do more of this, I'm happy.
It's what I want to see from a Blink-182 song.
I like emo Blink. I'm in that era of Blink 182. Give me like
Yeah.
Not Now and like After Midnight.
Nah, I don't like that era at all. And even the Matt Skiba era of Blink 182, which as an Alkaline Trio fan, I was like, well, maybe this could be a thing. Even I was like, yeah, Matt Skiba is not meant for Blink 182. I don't think he did his best work.
I agree with that, but I thought 9 was all right.
I think he did fine. It just wasn't Matt Skiba's. But then again, you can make an argument Matt Skiba has not done his best work in a very long time. I would say that he's been selling it out, and not selling it out, but phoning it in for a little bit. Past Alkaline Trio record, not very good. Record before that, not that great.
The 2010 pop punk is back. Maybe now's the time for Alkaline Trio to come swinging in. With...
They're not technically broke up or anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Come in swinging with a killer record.
I could see that, but at the same time, I kind of like those guys doing other stuff now.
Okay.
I like those guys doing other stuff. It can be, I could live with them just coming together every once in a while, play Alkaline Trio songs. But what's Matt Skiba doing? I mean, he's not working in Blink no more. Yeah, so let's just get off. Let's just get off of all this other talk.
Video game podcast.
Remember, everybody, that's what we're here to talk about. Yes, Fallen Order Part 2 today. We'll be talking about the middle ground of this video game. We talked about before the show. We kind of forgot how backloaded, story-wise, Fallen Order is. But there's still a lot to talk about here. It's a good video game.
Yeah.
I was reminded about that last night when I was finishing up the section. That I was like, it's just a high quality. It's got a ton of great set pieces. It has a ton of great moments. Yeah, it goes to show that Respawn's never made a bad game. And it's a lot of quality, and it's a good campaign. It's something that they showed off in Titanfall 2 really well, where they kept things moving and you kept having big kind of moments that are memorable, they're memorable and easy to kind of pick out. And it's just, they do a great job with their pacing.
They do, yes. They take individual moments in a vacuum and string them together to where there's no moment that feels boring, right? When mine's like, there's one section that I feel goes on for too long, but that was probably because of my own stupidity, being stuck on a certain puzzle for way longer than I should have. But other than that, this game is structured. We talked about pacing last time, and that carries through. There's not a moment besides that one bit that this game like slows down or I wish would like wrap it up, because you're always moving to the next.
They do a good job of it's the Cliff Brzezinski had like a design philosophy that he used to talk about a lot in interviews, that basically like is like every 15 minutes you had to switch things up, or I think every 10 minutes. I'm not exactly sure on the time, but basically that switching things up on like every 10 to 15 minutes to keep things fresh. I don't know if I 100% agree with that philosophy. There's times where I think that, letting things breathe for longer periods of time are good, but this has a good job, does a good job of just kind of keeping things flowing and letting those moments happen naturally. You feel like you build up to the big moments really well, and you kind of see what's about to happen coming. And
there's big moments that come out of nowhere and surprise you. But
it's a good mixture.
Yes.
I really like the pacing of this game. It's something that kind of kept popping into my head as we were playing it. Before we get into Fallen Order, though, let's talk about some other video game stuff. You were talking about you've been messing around with the Ace Combat series.
Yes, I did some classic video game hunting and stumbled across. I've now have found in the past 2 weeks every single Ace Combat game for the PlayStation 2. As a fan of that series, I got into it at what fans consider to be the absolute worst one with Ace Combat Assault Horizon. That game rules. I don't know what people are talking about. They're like, oh, the dogfight mode takes away too much control from you when it becomes like a on-rail shooter. But I'm like, yeah, but it zooms in really cool, and you hold the machine gun button down, and you see that plane get torn to shreds. It kind of rules.
I feel like that's one of those things that if you're a veteran of the series, you might not like it, but as someone jumping in for the first time, it does enough to make you excited about sticking with it, But I could see as a veteran of the series, especially if you've gotten like really good at the dogfights in those games.
Yes, and
to be like, oh, now I can just hit a button and do it. Like I could see that being disappointing.
and especially since it leaves out a crucial element to that series that's very important, and that is the story. So I've jumped in and played basically in 3 sittings the entirety of Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies, a great title. Really awesome game, and I can now talk about the Strange Reel on this podcast.
Okay.
So, do you know what the Strange Reel is?
I do not know what that is.
Okay, so around the time of Ace Combat 4, they decided to retroactively make the other games in the series fit into this same alternate universe. And in one of the trailers for Ace Combat 4, it might have been the first one, it says, in a strange, real world. And after years of back and forth translation, it kind of just became one word, Strange Reel, that fans have adopted, and now the main studio, Project Aces, has adopted to where Ace Combat 7 proudly boasts on the back of the box, Return to the Strange Reel. So, Strange Reel is this alternate universe where there are just giant nations that all wars are fought over air superiority.
Okay, you don't get to just say that and walk away. So it's just like everyone's just super into controlling the air? Or is it like a reason for air superiority? Because usually you want air superiority so you can like take things on the ground.
Yeah, that's basically the point. But you can't do that without really cool jets. To sum up this in its bare, basic, lowest common denominator, war is bad, but planes are rad.
You were very proud of yourself when you came up with that.
No, I read that on a comment. So
okay.
So I'm not.
I thought you took it from. I thought you came up with it yourself. I was like, that's a pretty good back of the box quote right there.
One of the instigators of this universe was that a asteroid came down and leveled a nation, like left it as a giant crater. So everybody basically paid the Russian analog, Eurasia, to basically NATO came in and was like, we're going to work with this country and make a giant space cannon to fend off asteroids. And then evil Russia was like, or Eurasia was like, ha ha ha, we got a laser to control the air. So
I like the fact that you went evil Russia. I mean, you're right. Like as if you were secretly like doing some secret message.
Stand to save top 100 podcasts and for video games in the Ukraine.
Yes, we're on a side apparently, which we're fine with. But you know it's on there. We've dug our feet in. But I do like the fact that it's like, no, we can't come together over the defense of the Earth from these asteroids. We have to fight each other over it, which is actually a very accurate thing. It's actually a pretty, yeah. I can kind of see that.
And so all the games have basically anime plot lines with like dealing with like on the ground for like most of the story you mostly get like what's happening politically through the mission briefings of like they're going to try to wipe out our airbase. Don't let them do that. Versus the actual story, which actually focuses on It's a man recounting his time as a childhood during this war in Eurasia, and how there was a plane that he was watching a dogfight in the air, and a plane with a yellow plane, which is like Eurasia's ace unit, number 13, shoots down a plane and it crashes into his home and kills his family. From like after like the occupation of his like territory, but then he goes and like sees the pilot in like a bar as a kid because the kid's going and playing harmonica in the bar to raise money for his like family and everything. But Yellow 13 just playing the guitar, and they've kind of formed like a friendship, knowing the kid understands like, yeah, I understand you didn't mean to do that. It's just like war, hard times, man. But yeah, you're not Red Yellow 13. You're playing for the other side. So it's like building up the relationship. So when you do fight them in the air, you have like that. It's wild.
It's building sympathy for the devil, right? Like you're building up the enemy, so when you fight them, you care about them just as much as you, which is actually it's a good thing. You should do that in games because it makes things not one-dimensional.
And it talks about like how he is like reading like newspaper clippings from your nation of like how your triumphs in the war and everything. He's like I want to fight this guy in the air, as like it's like a respect thing. Like this guy is like
that's a very anime thing also.
yeah.
We're gonna go try to kill each other because we respect each other.
Yes, it is. So
I don't know. I've always found that trope very fascinating. Whereas like y'all do know that you're still killing each other, right? Like, hey man, I respect you so much, we're gonna die.
Because loyalty to our nations is in our blood.
Cue Metal Gear speech.
Basically.
Is this Ace Combat 6's story, or is this the overarching
This
story?
is just 4.
Okay, that's a 4. Damn.
5 deals with takes place in the distant future of the year 2010. In this, they still use the Roman calendar in this strange reel where there is no Rome.
That's fine.
Anyway, so that one deals with like a reporter doing with like War Dog Squadron.
So each
Steve
one
Bloom
is
there,
each one is a separate kind of story,
taking place in the same universe, and like they reference wars that happened.
Yeah.
And Ace Combat 0, which I haven't got to yet, is a prequel that takes place in the 90s that deals with like a World War II German analog. And at the top of Ace Combat 5, they mentioned that war. It's like, yeah, in the Balkan War, they were about to lose, so they nuked themselves.
All right.
Like,
high quality solution right there.
You can't take us if we blow ourselves up.
I appreciate the commitment to a alternate universe and a commitment to like building a timeline. I like that kind of stuff.
It's pretty great. We should play some Ace Combat.
I would be maybe open to that. So between this and what is it, Mech Assault or Armored Core?
Armored Core.
Between this and Armored Core, you've been like going down the rabbit hole of Japanese anime ass war games.
I've always liked Ace Combat, but scratching that itch, go, oh man! Every time I play an Ace Combat game, it's just creeping up the list of my favorite series.
I mean,
like I love this series so much.
Like I said, I appreciate the level of dedication.
I love 7. I didn't know what was happening story-wise, but I had a great time with that thing.
Well, it seems like it doesn't really matter, right? Because each one's kind of its own little story. So
but
you can get
jumping in hot, and they're just name-dropping countries, expecting you to know and go, okay, are they the good guys or the bad guys? Am I the good guy or the bad guy? Which one's
We'll figure it out in the air.
That whole thing, Sevens is like, drones are taking over, but they're using like they're using data from like our ace pilots to like control the drones. So they're like, it's like the movie Stealth.
Oh yeah, that high quality film Stealth.
But you fight something called the Arsenal Bird, which is a drone that is like the size of a major city.
I feel like this appeals to you because this is just like this is all Metal Gear.
This is Metal Gear, but with planes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We figured it out, everybody.
Yeah.
We figured out the appeal to Michael.
There's a guy in Ace Combat 5. Also, in this alternate universe, Puddle of Mud exists. There's a Puddle of Mud song in Ace Combat.
So it's a dark, evil alternate universe. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. I bet you that they got like Mushroom Head and all those bands. Damn.
That song, "Can You Take It All Away?"
Oh,
it's the main theme of Ace Combat 5.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's pretty great. I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
I'm like, this is stupid. Yes.
My whole opinion. I hope my whole opinion of this series just took a massive downturn because it's apparently made by people who have trash taste in music.
Oh, come on.
You gonna defend?
I'll defend that song. It's all right. I'm not gonna defend "She Hates Me." I draw the line there.
Next thing you know, you're gonna be defending like Trapped and shit.
I don't know.
Don't you do this?
I won't go down this road.
Don't you do this?
No, I won't defend Trap. No, never. No, not.
That guy's a fucker in real life.
I ran to his TikTok once.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. Oh, we just I can see the reviews now. As the biggest fan of Puddle of Mud, I am so offended by State of the Save. I'm glad though that you're getting deep into these series. That's good. Other than Ace Combat and the taking it to the danger zone there, what else have you been playing?
That's basically it for me playing some things. But there is a video game adjacent thing that's kind of taking the world by storm. There's HBO's adaptation of The Last of Us. Made me have like a giant realization that was like, hey, if you just take the thing people like, give it love, care, and attention, and that's basically it. That's all you have to do, really, to make a successful adaptation.
It's something me and friend of the show Nick had discussed last week also, where we were talking about, like all these adaptations and really how a lot of people have just been angry about all of them. And I feel like a lot of them haven't been done well. We were talking about like The Witcher and all the drama that went around that and how, that broke down. Lord of the Rings, and I talked about that show and how I felt about that show and just all these.
You brought the Halo show on this podcast.
I brought up the Halo show, which, like, I was sitting there saying how, like, I don't usually get mad about these things because as long as the thing I love exists, I'm usually okay with it. And then Nick was like, yeah, but that Halo show. And like, yeah, Halo show was a piece of junk. That thing was just, it was a tragedy. But, it's that general respect of the property. It is okay to not do a beat-by-beat retelling of the property you are doing. And it seems like I haven't had a chance to watch The Last of Us. I talked to you before the show. Like the games, they are some sad, depressing stuff, and I have to be in a very certain mindset to be able to enjoy that.
First episode deals with some heavy topics.
Yeah, there's some stuff, and it's just like it's all good. I'm sure it's great, but it's just I have to be in a mindset to be in that ward. But that respect for the property you're adapting is such a key thing, and it seems like everything I've read is that they respect the property.
Yes, there are scenes that are directly lifted from the game to the point where there's discourse now of like, then what's the point of this thing? And like, that might be like valid, like true, but also like there's extended scenes with these characters. Like Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey played Joel and Ellie respectively. They're knocking it out of the park. But of course, Pedro Pascal,
what a career moment he's having, if you think about it. Like, he's having a hell of a moment in his career. And I'm not saying that as like a negative towards him. I enjoy him in most of his projects, but I'm just thinking like he's having a great moment right now. He's riding high.
Oh, he's knocking his performance out of the park. Same with Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie on the show.
Yeah,
She's
young actress who seems to be very much, people are really enjoying what she's doing.
She's like fantastic. There was a lot of hate for her before the show, and she's ever since the show came out, she shut them up with her performance.
Michael, you say people getting angry about things before they experience them? When does that happen, Michael?
Like 5 times today.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, and all of the changes that they've made sense for what they're most of change. There's one change I'm not like completely keen on, but it was just like a small character moment that was like 2 seconds long that I went, that's weird, and we went on to the next thing.
They did something that this is when I knew that they apparently were really doing well. I had conversations with people who really enjoyed that series, and they changed some major stuff with like how the ward of The Last of Us exists, how the virus
works,
how the virus works.
Yes,
but apparently did it in a way that still sold it to the audience.
Yeah.
And it goes to show that you can make changes to a property. But if you're passionate about the property you're working with and you care about the world you're adapting, you can make changes and still produce a high quality product. Mm-hmm. That's not the problem. The problem is when you directly go against what makes this property enjoyable to the fan base that enjoys it. And so like when I heard that they had made massive changes to that, I was like, that's something that would tick off the fanboys. And I'm not even saying that necessarily is a bad thing, but if you're like a diehard fan, that's a quick turnoff, right? But apparently they did it in a way that was true to the spirit of the property. It just seemed like it really worked, and I applaud that level of thought being put into it.
At first, I thought it was going to be a thing that was specifically for acting purposes, because in the game, whenever you go to a spore-heavy area, they gotta put masks on. It's really hard to like act with like the breathable like gas mask on and everything. And like if you're having large swaths of your story with, Pedro Pascal, great actor with a mask on from
Yeah.
The Mandalorian. So,
But it is a challenge, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't do all the little subtle things that makes a good acting performance.
if you have one character mask, fine. But if you have multiple in there, that's when it gets like more tricky and everything. So they changed it from like the spores in the air to like tendrils, where they actually made a change that's even scarier in the virus of the game. So the virus has a way, because it's tendrils and they exist in the ground, is kind of like a hive-minded network, where if one zombie, or I'm calling them zombies for short,
Like
but
the clickers and all that kind of
clickers
stuff.
and
Yeah.
what the runners and everything. But if one zombie like sees someone alive and they're like killed, the living tendrils on them will like go through the ground and communicate to another one within the network that's close by.
It's like it's like a living. It's like a single organism.
Yes, exactly. And that change is my wife is watching this, and she's only watched me play a little bit of The Last of Us. That change like terrified her. She was like, "This is like," it's like she compared like the first episode of this a lot to like The Walking Dead. And the second one, she's like, "Oh no, this is much scarier than The Walking Dead ever did with like the zombie hive mind or something." It was
Intelligence behind the threat makes it scarier, right? Because mindless zombies coming at you, you can trick. You have the ability to be smarter than them. But having like an intelligence behind the threat means that the threat can trick you, and the threat can take away your advantage. It just really, I'm very happy to see one of these adaptations go well
and
like be well received.
not just by the people who played the game, but for people who, there's a lot, I guarantee like only a percentage of the audience who's watching this has actually played the game.
Yeah,
And
it's a horror show on HBO with a big budget that's going to have a lot of eyes on
and
it.
a great cast, like it looks beautiful. It's based on a property, so people go, okay, there's like a fandom behind this. I heard of this game. Let's check it out. And because of that, there's like a boost in sales from like the game and everything. So people who were questioning, me included, is like, why are they doing a remake of Part 1?
All of a
Guess
sudden,
what? All of a sudden.
guess what's selling like crazy right now? Because if you walk into the GameStop and you say, "I want to play The Last of Us,"
There's Part 1. You can play Part 2 too.
Yeah,
and
bam,
people
bam.
Go, okay, I might as well get both. I like the show, so I like where this is going.
it's
So
easy to. If it's almost like they should run a sale right now on the PlayStation Store.
there is a trial for premium members. You can play 1 hour of that game,
That
which
seems
is
like-
which is shorter than the first episode. The first
Okay.
episode's an hour 20 minutes.
But you know what though? If he can hook them, he can hook them.
Yep, exactly. So I'm really happy with.
I'm just
with the way
happy
they've
to
done it.
see. I think I want to watch it. Like I said, I just gotta be in the right mind space. But I'm just happy to see someone adapting something that seems to really connect with it, because it feels like we've been on like a just a negative streak where it feels like anytime you hear about a property that you care about coming, it seems like it's just almost fills you with more dread than it does excitement. I think about how excited I was for like the concept of a Halo show, and then that came out and really killed my excitement. I think about like, I didn't dislike the Lord of the Rings show as much as a lot of people. I looked at it as a fantasy show, and I was like, this is a good fantasy show. I just didn't try to like make it necessarily a Tolkien thing.
I have a Lord of the Rings fan at work, and he's in that same mindset. He was like, "It might get good later. I don't know. I'm sick."
It was an okay fantasy show.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that it's not something that I would consider like a key Tolkien experience. It's just a good fantasy show that barely uses little Tolkien things here and there. But
I told my friend, I was like, "Tell me when Calamember does something cool, and I'll watch it."
yeah, okay,
That my basis of Lord of the Rings is Shadow of Mordor and nothing else.
sure. Also, something vaguely related to Tolkien, but yeah, I'm glad to see a property seems to be getting a good treatment and respected treatment. It shows that, hey, you can have success doing that.
Yeah.
It's almost like you shouldn't take ideas for other shows and just throw a property on top of it and use it as a Trojan horse to get your ideas out there. It's almost like that's a bad way to make television shows. Throwing all sorts of shows under the bus here, aren't we? I'll be kind of quick.
I ate a lot of time. I apologize.
Yeah, it's all right. No, it's fine. We also spent like 10 minutes at the top of the show talking about Blink-182.
I need to talk about anime planes.
I talked about it last time that I'm cleaning up my hard drive to get ready for the release schedule for this year because there's a ton of stuff. I can kind of consider February the start. With Atomic Heart is coming, which I think is looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the set in Russia, first-person shooter science fiction game from Focus. And then March is like where the killers kick in, right? That's where Resident Evil 4 remake and Jedi Survivor comes out. Like that's when the good stuff really hits hard. So as I've been doing that, I've been making hard decisions. So I've been like, okay, if I don't care about something enough to finish it, let's go ahead and take it off the hard drive. But I have been knocking some stuff out. Inscription is I am last 10% of that game left. Very, very, very much enjoying that. That's a high quality video game. There's not much I can say about it without getting into the spoiler territory of what makes that game special.
You and Nick should do a
we need to
dive
do
into
that
thing.
He was very upset that I hadn't finished it and actually was at my house last week and kind of pushed me to show him where I was, and I was a lot closer to the solution to my problem than I thought I was.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be done with that shortly. I gave up on games like Higher on Life. Boy, that game just got to a point that it was a slog. So I just gave up on that.
You may have fell off at the right time.
Yeah, it seems like seems like a good time to jump that ship. Me and Adult Swim sailing away from that one. I also just kind of like I said, just finishing up a lot of stuff. I did take Vampire Survivors off of my hard drive last night.
Heresy.
I got to like level 60.
But
and
also
I was
good
like,
for you.
Yeah, I got to like level 60 in that game. I said, I'm good enough. I've reached a point where I'm okay walking away.
You're clean. Cold turkey. Get rid of it.
Took the needle out of my arm and headed on down the street to a better sunny day. But I'm really trying to say get ready because I'm very excited for this year. It's just a lot of stuff coming out that I'm hoping is going to be really, really solid.
I'm very excited for like the unknown factor too, because I'm like all the known stuff has me excited. So I'm like, there's always stuff that like appears like indie things that drop randomly, or there's going to be some like announcements coming and like just shadow drops.
You can still announce something like March and April and have it out by end of the year.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly.
Like there's potential for surprises. E3 this year would be interesting because I feel like this is the first year in a while that I have like a really solid list of games I want to play. So it's like, well, E3 can focus on next year more, and I have plenty coming out this year to be excited about.
If E3 even happens.
If it even happens, whatever that might. When I say E3, I more mean like
Jeff
the
Keighley.
press conferences that happen in June.
Turns out Keighley can throw a better show now. So.
Yeah, Keighley just kind of runs stuff now. Let him take care of it for you.
Those Game Awards reveals better than anything that happened in
Yes,
the summer.
that was we was sending trailers back and forth on that one, and it's like, boy, this is more exciting than the last E3. There was more like hot new stuff, and it felt really cool. A lot of stuff that was coming out in the next like 8 to 10 months, and it's like, boy, that's nice to see. Not just a teaser trailer for like Elden Scrolls in the year 2027. It's like, hey, let's actually see some stuff coming. But yeah, so I'm cleaning out the hard drives, knocking stuff out. Getting ready to play the sequel to this game, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, good segue.
Thank you. I'm working hard on that one. I pulled that one out from deep. Jedi Fallen Order. We talked about it at the top of the show a little bit. This is a wonderful video game. I have a hard time kind of complaining about things with this, but one thing I do kind of want to talk about going forward is something we hit on at the beginning. Yeah, it's a very story back heavy game, and I kind of, when I thought about the game before we started it up for the show, I thought that the story was more ongoing throughout the whole experience, and it's really not. It's mostly about exploring and looking for this MacGuffin device. We even talked about this before the show. That
It's all about finding the pieces of the MacGuffin to get to the MacGuffin that we know where it is. It's in the vault on
it's like
Bogano, but we have to go find the pieces to open the vault.
It's like in Resident Evil 2 when you have to get the statue pieces or something. And it's like where the solution is, and it's just walking around finding stuff to put it all together at this one location.
But on literally a galaxy-wide scale.
Yeah, on a galaxy-wide scale. But I just that side of the story is the least interesting part of the game to me. I am vastly more interested in the kind of dealing with Cal's PTSD from his experiences during the Purge and the Clone Wars and things like that, dealing with the second sister and her whole experience. That's where the story is a lot more interesting to me than anything going on with the actual in-game goal of the game.
I mean, that's always been kind of Star Wars' thing, right? It's always, even go back to the classic movies, if I just tell you the beat for beat of some individual story moments, they're on a planet, Empire comes, they gotta get off the planet. You're that's it. But I tell you everything that the characters going through and what they're grappling with. That's where Star Wars is more of a character story than it is.
New Hope
is plot story.
Boy helps save princess. Boy blows up space station.
The domino effect that happens in between there.
But that's the main beats there. But it is the character development and that stuff that makes it classic.
It's just the hero's journey. It's just something that's been in stories for
Journey to the West.
Hundreds. Yes, exactly. But it's the characters that get you to fall in love with those stories, and that's something similar that's happening here. All of the interpersonal relationships and the conflicts that happen are incredibly interesting and incredibly well done because of the way they write those characters, the way they write those dynamics, and the performance capture and acting of these characters.
That's something, to speak about for a second there. They did a wonderful job with that stuff.
That scene, probably the best scene in this chunk, is after the boss fight with second sister, who is revealed to be Trilla at this point. Also, I'm glad I can now say Trilla in this part because it was really hard just to say, have in my head to say second sister. Don't give away what happens, but just that scene where they're divided amongst the shield barrier, and Cal's expression of anger as Trilla has the mask and has the mask off and is just taunting him.
She does we talked about how much we enjoyed her performance last show, but she does a wonderful job in this video game. You talked about her chewing the scenery, but she does it perfectly. She does it in ways that you want the villain to do. And that scene is just a great example. And it's a very Star Wars moment. It's a good reference to Darth Maul pacing back and forth after stabbing Qui-Gon. It's that whole, heroes separated by a barricade having to have a moment here. But
it's also it also takes some cues from the Kylo Ren scene of the way the mask kind of unpuzzle boxes itself in order for her to take the mask off and reveals the blackened eyes and everything. It's very reminiscent of that moment.
The dark side has a physical effect on your appearance.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff is just so much more interesting in this game. They do such a great job. Let's try to get this in some semblance of order. We were sent back to Zepho?
To Zepho, because the plot told us to.
Yeah, the Zepho. We got sent back to Zepho because the plot told us to, and that's something we're going to have to kind of just go ahead and accept, that there's a lot of traveling to planets because the plot tells us that's the next place to be.
And there's no really urgency there. Is the Force thingamawatsit is on Zepho again. You could literally call these things anything, and it wouldn't change the story.
Yeah, and also everyone knows where the tomb is, and yet there's no there's no pressure that the Empire is drilling down in there and going to get to it quick. It's very lackadaisical in its approach to the timeline of how fast you need to get this done. occasionally they'll be like, well, the Empire's looking for it too. And you're like, well, they're doing a really shitty job. So I think I can go hang out over here for a little bit.
It doesn't really feel like that until you get like physically in the tomb and run to Trilla. Before then, it's just like it's a video game. They're populating like the same spaces. There's no real increased threat of like Imperial like dominance here.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just fighting the same dudes that were here. Every time I kneel at one of these bonfires, they come back. That was my other. Gee, I'm setting down the game that I absolutely love. But one thing that caught me off guard was that you don't go back to your closest like bonfire. So if you're walking through and then die and you haven't touched one since your ship, that's a good. You can have like a good 5 to 10 minute trek.
Yeah.
To get back there.
And you're right. It makes you. It does that weird thing where like if you just meditate at the bonfire without resting, it will basically mark it as like your next point to return to if you die.
Yeah.
But it feels unnecessary to have to do that. It feels like there should be like a faster way of like as soon as I pass it or something. It just feels weird to have to go into that menu and then back out just to have it triggered as your next like respawn point.
It was one thing that they took from Dark Souls that I thought they could have eased up a little bit. Like even Elden Ring goes to you go to your closest one, right? When you die, or do you go to your last?
I think you go to the last one.
Oh, okay. Unless it's like a stake of Marika there, then you go to like the closest.
I think that it kind of varies because if you got the stake there,
but that one's helped with fast travel too.
Yeah, and that's as long as you have them activated, even if you got sent. Actually, I think it is the closest one because even if you got it activated, you could just return back to it via fast travel. Yeah. So I don't think that really. It's not as big of a deal there.
Yeah, but so I wish they kind of just kept like the proximity thing here because obviously they're. Everything is kind of like a maze-like structure on top of each other, but it's not like the woven kind of interconnected world of like something complex like a Dark Souls is, where you are, or even has like that persistent threat where if you do see one, even if you've been there before, you're like, I'm just gonna touch it just in case. But here you can be like, you can run through and be like, I've got 5 heals left. I think I'm all right to keep going.
Yeah, it's like I should be okay. I
don't have any skill points to cash in. What am I doing? I'm just gonna keep going.
Especially because at this point you really don't have anything. Like you have to have like at least 2 to buy anything by this point.
At this point in the game, for sure.
Yeah. So it's you're like I only got 1. I just keep on moving, and it could lead to situations getting killed. I didn't die much in this thing. I think I've only died like 3 times.
What difficulty level are you playing?
Whatever the equivalent to normal is.
So the Jedi level?
Yeah.
I went Jedi Master, one below Jedi Grandmaster, and that's like the perfect difficulty level for me. Like, I beat Trilla, and it might just because my skills in this type of game has gone up significantly since I played this before, where I was playing the same difficulty level and just got like creamed by every boss, and then having to like work through figuring out patterns. Here, it was just like second nature. Dodge, strike, counter. Those all just like felt naturally to me to the point where Trilla and Night Sister and barely Gorgara took them down my first try. And that just felt really good.
I think Trilla beat me. Night Sister and Gorgara.
It's made up names. We can
whatever it is. I beat Gorgara like barely. Like I had like a sliver of health left.
It was like it's either me or him. I got to get like a core of his health done.
When he does that, like the ground pound.
Yeah, right.
That first one that's like 3 in a row. That kicked my ass. Like I was good until then. When he did the ground pound, those come out of nowhere and they kick my ass.
Because you dodge the first one, you go beady, and he does it again, but you're locked in that animation where you can't get the heal out in time, and he just knocks you back again.
Knocks you back, yeah, and you just get fucked up. Yeah, we go back to Zepho, and we kind of re-exploring, and really the big thing there is the confrontation with Second Sister, or Trilla.
There's a lot of like alternate paths here. I didn't go down the loop I did last time, because if you go... So it wants you to go down through the destroyed Republic Star Destroyer, which also one thing we talked about last time that they just elevated in this section to a T. The sense of scale in this section is freaking incredible.
You get all sorts of great moments when you come out over plateaus and like you see the destroyed your Republic Star Destroyer. Or
Kashyyyk has a ton of that. Even in like the tomb of the Zepho, like there's a big action sequence that takes place on a casket.
Yeah.
For it. As it's like swinging above, like it gives a sense of scale of like who these people are, and also just makes you feel so small in this space. It's incredible how they do that. But yeah, so you have the Star Destroyer there, and you can go into Star Destroyer. I didn't do that this time. I was saving that for like part 3. But you could also go left towards the caverns and take down like the ice slide to go deeper into like that section, which is like an alternate way you can go that I got like my first time playing, got stuck in there last time. I was like, I don't feel like doing with the maze right now. I want to get through, make sure I have time to like get through this section and everything. So yeah, you're on your way to like the tombs, and there's a lot of like references to like the Empire of how they're just like there's some really good Force Echo stuff here that deals with like how they're sending lots of waves of troops in because they keep losing them in the mines because they're not doing professional mining. They're just blowing up the way into the cavern.
Well, it shows how like disposable people are to the Empire, and it's like, well, we lost another group of them. Send some more in. Well, eventually somebody will figure it out. I love all the like the references to the history when he gets to the like his Republic Star Destroyer that's destroyed, but then there's like clone troopers that he you can do the Force echoes of, and you can hear clone troopers and things like that.
A memorial to them that the citizens built too, which rings like very differently for Cal, having felt that betrayal firsthand. But to the people of this planet, they're like, no, they were protectors. They helped us during the Clone Wars and everything. So
there's so many opportunities for good stories in that whole ground there, with the clone troopers and the betrayal and like the morphing into the Empire and all that kind of stuff. And anytime they can play in that world and deal with the repercussions of that, it's like I said, it's a breeding ground for great storytelling. And I really, really love when they do that in this game. Like here, like in Kashyyyk, when you're climbing and you come across like the blown down troop gunships and stuff like that. It shows there's a history to this world. And Cal being someone young enough, but also a part of it enough to have a direct connection to it, really... It gives you a lot to play with, and they do a really good job of it here. I really like how they fiddle around with that whole stuff.
Agreed. I love Cal as a character. He's trying to deal with his like trauma, but he never loses like his sense of like optimism as well. You can tell he's like burying stuff deep with the fact that like he's slowly healing his connection to the Force and has to remember, like an X-Men, remember his powers in times of great stress.
He deals with he's a character that's experienced a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
But that trauma doesn't infect him 24/7 every moment of the day. And it's kind of a very realistic portrayal of trauma, where you can have moments where you are making jokes and able to, laugh about something, but the trauma is still this under the skin thing that's almost always there, but it's just not always present in your every single moment of your day. And they do a really good job of him kind of coping with those things and kind of having to face them and confront them as he's going through this whole experience. And it's just really good.
And I like that they give aspects of his character without saying a word, because like that through his time on Braca, that he having the scrap stuff, he's gotten like really good with like pieces and like the mechanics of things. So he's the one who like puts the upgrades on BD1 for like expanding the like zip line and like giving like tools for him to like hack into like doors and stuff. But he also, there's a bit, so in this section we should have gotten, or the last section we should have gotten the double bladed lightsaber. Where did you end up getting that?
I want to say I got it when I was leaving after the second sister fight.
Okay, so you got it pretty late then.
I want to say, I might be not 100% correct, but I don't think I had it for second sister.
Okay.
Trilla, I guess we call it Trilla.
So, before I went to Zepho, I went back to Bogano because when I played this game the first time, I wanted to create that same moment where I stumbled upon it. Because I imagine every other place that you build the double blade lightsaber, he kind of just goes, "Oh, there's a piece here," and then he has it, and he doesn't really elaborate on it further. There's one spot in Bogano where you go into Cordova's lab, and you see Cordova's half broken lightsaber there, and Cal goes, "Wait a minute." He goes something like, "Huh, the emitter's still good. I wonder if I could take this piece here." And he does the taking the tools and combines it, and has a moment of just igniting both sides and have a good smile on his face, I did that.
It shows his handiness.
Yes.
Which is that's a good show not tell kind of thing, that he is, obviously because of his time scrapping and stuff like that, he's got capabilities with this kind of stuff, and he puts them to use throughout the adventure. Now I got it kind of late. I want to say, like I said, I think I got it after the Trilla fight. We talked about the Trilla stuff. Let's really kind of dig down into that a little bit. When she does a great job of always making these sudden appearances.
As a good villain.
Yeah, she just does a great job of you're going about your business, and then here she is.
Just down an elevator shaft, unceremoniously. There's no build up. There's no scene. There's no cut scene. It's just she's there, and she goes, "There you are."
Yeah, I really like that about her. It makes her more threatening. It's a good fight. The first fight we have with her is very much, you're made to lose kind of situation.
It's your tutorial boss fight.
Yeah,
This is how these are the patterns of bosses. You gotta dodge. You gotta combine all your
skills to beat this difficult challenge.
But you got hit a couple times. Here's your friends to save you.
Yeah,
type deal.
But here, we obviously don't beetle, but
you gotta get the life bar to halfway.
Yeah.
To quote unquote win this fight. But yeah, she does all her moves from the first fight at the beginning of the game, and every time that you encounter her throughout this game, she's going to add more and more stuff to her skill set.
I think now she has a quick dash, has several unblockable attacks that obviously you gotta learn how to deal with. But the big thing is the post-fight reveal that she is, A, she's Trilla, but also B, who she is in relationship to our buddy on the ship whose name just left my head. Siri.
Seer. Yes.
Seer. Okay. Star Wars names are weird. That's what I like about Warhammer names. They're just Latin.
My favorite Star Wars name, and by that I mean my least favorite name, is Has. So if you're reading a book, you run into a sentence that's has had, and you just want to throw.
That just seems like bad editing.
You just want to throw it across the room. But yeah, so we didn't talk about this last time, but there is a small scene where in the first part where Seer talks about why she decided to lose her connection with the Force, and it's because she was caught and tortured by the Empire, and she specifically references this time a dark shadow doing the torture. She's been tortured and gave the location of her apprentice, as well as, I believe it's implied, I don't know if she outright says it, but a few other Padawans.
It's implied. No, she straight up says that there was a group of them. They had gotten
They were
bunch
on
of Padawans.
They were on the
out.
run together.
Yeah.
It wasn't just her apprentice. It was a group of them that were together.
She made it sound like her and her Padawan had gotten a bunch of Padawans out.
They were trying. Yeah. That's right. They were trying to do Cal's quest now, which is rebuild the Jedi Order.
Yeah, and the first time we have a conversation with her, she does not explicitly say that she gave them up. She kind of hints at it.
They tortured me, then they found them.
Yeah, we skipped the step there that she was the way they found them. She kind of says they tortured me and then they were found, and you can see it from Cal's point of view of maybe not putting two together. But this is when we learned that she straight up gave them up, and that Trilla was tortured and turned into this, or she fell into the dark side.
And it's at this moment too, where shortly after, where I'm going to go ahead and skip the tomb stuff. We can talk about that because I want to talk about, because this ties into it. Cal is mistrusting of Seer at this point, and then you get, on your way out of the tomb, you get captured by the bounty hunter that ties into, like, Reese's. There's literally a throwaway line, blink and you miss it on the ship, of, I don't even know if everybody will get it, when you're on the way to Zepho, and he talks about, like, his gambling debts, and he's like, you gotta get your gambling debts. Like, what? Those guys will never find me. Or something.
He does. It's very small, where it's this concept that, like, oh, he's got a gambling problem. That seems like a character moment for him, I guess. And yeah, then you are obviously, then you deal with the repercussions of his problem.
And I like that just those 2 moments alone, even you as the player and Cal as a character start to kind of distrust your team. Like, no one's ever really been honest with me. They want me to do this huge quest for them, but no one wants to be, like, straight up for me, or straight up will risk my life over something stupid.
Exactly. Or put me in greater danger because of their shortcomings.
Like, not telling Cal about Trilla was, if it's like she's never seen a Star Wars movie, that always leads to the dark side whenever someone feels betrayed by their master at some point. So that's something you want to, like, avoid.
Yeah, go ahead and get that out of there.
There should be, like, rule number 1 in master school: never betray your apprentice.
I do like that when he forces her to have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she says that the main reason she shut herself off from the Force is because she basically went to a very, very dark place after her,
Oh, that's
her
right. And Trilla
exposure.
straight up said, do you know how she escaped?
Yeah, she used the dark side. She uses the dark side. That's not even necessarily that she gave him up is why she cuts herself off. It's because she uses the dark side to get out. And that's like that whole...
The dark side is
she's
a
already
drug.
fallen to the temptation, and if she continued down the path of using the Force, she probably wasn't going to be able to resist the temptation again, in her mind.
Yes. The whole philosophy of the Force and the dark side is, like, my favorite part of Star Wars. So I love stories that tackle into the fact that, like, the dark side is it's a drug. The more you use it, the more you feel like you need it, because the dark side is always the easy way.
It's a shortcut.
The light side is all about using peace and everything. Dark side is like, I'm going to choke you out and kill you. It's the easy way to solve your problems, and because of that, it feeds off of you. And, like, makes you stronger physically, but more weak and unstable, like, emotionally.
And that's why it's always a good thing when, like, it shows, like, the visual changes to the characters, that by using the dark side, it's physically making them, like, sickly looking or whatever. Like, it's having physical effects on the body.
So, yeah, I love Seer cutting herself off from that, being like, I don't want to use the Force anymore, because not only do I feel like I betrayed people, but because I don't want to feel like I have to use the dark side again.
Yeah, or I don't want to fall for the temptation that I've already fell into.
Yes, exactly.
You talk about when we escape from the tomb. We do a tomb sequence there. We talked about this.
Puzzles.
The MacGuffin stuff is fine as a gameplay point of view, but from a...
I spent, like, a good amount of time here, so I feel like I should talk about it.
Well, there's one particular puzzle that's very, very...
If you're playing along with us, you know the puzzle.
It involves burning some vines on a pendulum-like thing, and it doesn't read very clearly. Once you figure it out, it kind of, you slap yourself in the head, and you're like, damn it, I should have known this. But just something about it, the fact that me and you both had issues on it on our second damn playthrough, and
there is a visual clue there, but it's not until after you solve the puzzle where you realize, wait a minute, they were teaching me how to do this, like, a long time before.
Yeah, I feel like they should have. Something about it just didn't ring great. But as we're exiting the tomb, heading back to the ship, we get ambushed by a random bounty hunter, and it's a cool little mini boss fight that you can take him down to, like, half health. But then you are captured, and you wake up in a cell on, was it Braca you said it was?
No, this wasn't Braca.
Not Braca.
I wrote it down.
I don't know what
Ordo Eris.
Ordo Eris.
Yeah, you're underground in, like, this sort of, like, prison planet.
Yeah.
It's Star Wars. It's probably a biome, so I'm assuming this whole planet's a prison.
Probably, yes.
Coheed and Cambria have a song about this planet.
You basically, using the Force, escape, find BB, and you basically, on your process of escaping, end up in a massive arena.
It's a really fun. This feels very Star Wars in the fact that like a lot of like the Star Wars stories and movies have like a diversion sequence that has nothing to do with the rest of the plot that shows you like a other piece of like the galaxy, like the whole Jabba's palace scene, or the scene in like Episode 7 where they're dealing with the weird aliens that Han Solo's trying to smuggle for money.
Yeah,
and everything. So it feels very much in line with Star Wars in the fact
it's
that,
like a side little story.
Yeah, here's a random like prison collector who's just like forcing these guys to have fights.
He's doing arena fights.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just a chance for you to fight in the arena against some bosses and fight the bounty hunter that brought you in, and then you're saved by your crew.
Triumphantly just smash through the arena. That's fun. There's a band playing, and Cal recognizes the band as the group from his headphones.
Yeah, I like that.
He's like, I know the song.
He also was like, hey, these guys got some success in the galaxy. They're getting around. It's a pretty big band, man. They signed to some labels over here.
Maybe get a better manager if you're playing at this prison plant.
No, I think he's just pumping it through the speakers.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I didn't take it as him. I think he's just pumping it through the speakers, partially.
Gotcha.
Big thing is, like you said, it plays more into the fact that he can't trust the crew. He can't trust his allies because, hey, not only did you lie about what happened to your Padawan and your reasons for cutting yourself off from the Force, but then you over here lied. You over here had a bunch of gambling debts and got me captured and almost got me killed. I really particularly like the scene in which he tries to make it right.
Yeah.
Where he wakes you up and he's like, hey, man, don't be so hard on her. But, you're right. I screwed up, okay? I screwed up. But I'm sorry. But don't be so hard on her. She had it rough.
Like, you can be mad at me. Please don't be mad at her. She's gone through some stuff.
It's a very cool human sequence, even though one of the people has 4 arms.
And then you get the call from Kashyyyk, and the Empire pushed the Wookiees back, and it's time to go back. There's a really, agency in the story there. It's just literally a phone call being like, go back to Kashyyyk, because the plot tells you to go back to Kashyyyk.
Also, hey, we finally found Tarful. Come meet him. Kashyyyk is a really cool part of the game. I really like the experience of traveling through the jungles of Kashyyyk. I like that they're like these super dangerous, wild jungles. Story-wise, just not a lot going on until you start ascending the tree.
Yeah, the tree. It has probably the most well, no, because Dathomir, but it has really cool backstory and background information of the culture of the Wookiees and everything. But also, I guess they couldn't fund the actor who played Saw Gerrera because he's pieced out at this point in the game. He's like, he already left.
They really make that character sound pretty bad too. They're like, yeah, he bailed, he ran.
As I don't know if I have her name written here, but she stays behind. His number 2 guy stays behind. Mari,
yeah,
stays behind. Is like, no, we gotta help the Empire's still here.
Yeah, just because you're losing don't mean you can bail.
You take
man.
one facility and it's like, we did it.
It really kind of makes his character look pretty bad. Also, I just want to say I don't like the Wookiees in this game. They're too skinny.
They look soaking wet.
They're soaking wet and skinny.
Someone give that Wookiee a hairdryer.
Yeah. But there is a really cool sequence as you ascend the tree.
Can I talk about something when you first get here? There's really good environmental storytelling where one of the rebel helmets is on the ground. And you do the Force Echo and you hear Trilla lining up everybody and killing them.
Yeah. Well, you also see last time you left they were celebrating, right?
Yep.
And now you return and they've got their asses kicked.
And there's no one there. So it has a sense of, oh crap, I left to go do this thing and now
he also straight up
right
says
here.
Did I bring Trilla here?
Yep.
So it's he's that whole it's the whole Luke thing. My presence here endangers you all.
It's something I learned here while traversing. If you use the force slowdown on an object and you realize I timed that wrong, you can just use force push on it and it'll return back to normal speed.
Yeah, on the things that rotate in the water and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some cool combinations of that. We get that on Dathomir where you can freeze a section of wall to climb on it and stuff. It does some of that stuff.
My favorite thing is freezing bullets and then parrying those bullets back.
Anytime you can parry a shot back at a guy, it just feels so good.
Especially with the double blade saber, where you can just line them up and just go do like.
Or when you do the force push on the rocket launcher, and like you blow them up that way, like right when they shoot the rocket, you force push it back into the face.
That's actually a really hard thing to time right, but when you get it,
it's tough. There's a couple of times here where there's like multiple guys with rocket launchers.
Yeah, when you're working your way to the base of the tree, and as you're dealing with other enemies, like you're getting stormed by like a group of spiders, and then you have these guys on like the high ground shooting you with rockets.
It ain't easy. It ain't easy being Cal.
To turn the camera and shoot because then you got spider webs.
It ain't easy being Cal.
No.
Ascending the tree is the highlight to this section. It's one of the better like climbing sequences in the game. You have really cool sequences in which you're seeing like crashed clone trooper ships hanging in the tree, and you climb on them. Mm-hmm. And then the big highlight is, of course, we get ambushed by the Night Sister, but then we are rescued by our cool bard friend. Dragonbird brings down the Night Sister ship, or so we think. And after doing a little bit of helping them get the little piece of ship out of them, he gives us a ride to the top in a really cool sequence. It's a very Star Wars sequence. We get the swelling of the music. And there's a line that Cal says, something on the lines of, like, look how much the Empire hasn't touched. Like, we keep talking about how much the Empire has destroyed. And it can almost feel like, what are we even doing anymore?
It's a beautiful moment.
And it's a good, yeah, when he says, like, look how much they haven't got to, though. Look how much they haven't touched. So it gives you, like, there's a reason for us to keep fighting. They haven't won.
You get the Jedi flip here.
Yeah, you get the Jedi flip. And then we do get ambushed by the Night Sister. Once we reach the top and we get our next directions to go to Dathomir. How you feel about the Night Sister?
Fun boss fight.
It's a fun boss fight. I always think she kind of goes down like a punk.
She gets force pushed off the tree of life from Disney's Animal Kingdom. Is my note here.
Also, it's like one of those things where you expect her to come back to life because you never see the body.
It feels like a thing where someone went to Respawn and was like, "Please don't kill her straight up. We need her for a book."
Yes. It does feel like that. Because
I don't know if that's the case, but that's what it feels like. I was like, okay, she can't die. Someone wrote a story with her and was like, please don't kill her.
Yeah, like, I just need to stick a robot arm on her and call it a day.
You can chop her hand off and go, I bested you.
Yeah, but it feels very much like she's not really dead. Like, I could see her showing up in Jedi Survival and be like, I'm back, fool, because you didn't see a body.
Yep.
A lot of times the bosses in this game, when you beat them, you see a body. You don't see a body on the Night Sister. If she shows up in Jedi Survival, I wouldn't be surprised.
I didn't get to scan her after killing her. That's how you know something.
Yeah, if you can scan something after you kill her, yeah. I like the fight. I just think that she goes down like a punk a little bit at the end.
I like the tension there when she's like taunting him as she like uses the Force to like bring up the saber, and you know she's going to try to ignite it. I kind of wish that was like a Resident Evil 4 style quick time event.
Or like
where if you didn't do it, you just get stabbed through the neck.
Or like the Green Goblin kind of thing in Spider-Man where you jump over it and let it stab her instead.
That would have been cool. But again, maybe they couldn't do
Yeah,
do
I kind of feel like somebody said don't kill her off yet. I
love Cal's reaction to when it happens because he does that force push and kind of just freezes in that moment of like realization where he's just like, I just did that.
Yeah.
Without saying a word. Again, the performance and facial capture in this game is so freaking good.
That's just that, yeah, a lesser game would be like, I can't believe I just did that.
Whoa.
And then you get a call on the phone and be like, I just pushed off the Night Sister with a force push. You learned force push, and there'd be like a 4-minute conversation about force.
Spoken, out now.
Apparently, yeah, apparently. Apparently, not going to be talked about in the next couple of weeks. But here, subtlety is your best friend, boys and girls. Subtlety. So we're told we gotta go to Dathomir.
Go to planet to get thing to unlock thing on another planet.
Yeah, it's always like I said. The main quest line is very much just taking you places. Dathomir is interesting though.
Before we get there, sorry, there's this awkward dinner scene where we have like the realization with Seer, and it's a really like kind of intense moment, but Grease is just like salting his food.
And he just keeps salting it the whole damn time.
I love this moment.
Of him looking back and forth. It's like he forgot that he's doing it.
He's like, well, I can't. He's like,
and then also BB-8 like scans it. He's like, don't scan my food. I do like that scene a lot. I really enjoy that.
I like that they underpin like this really tense moment with like comedy like that, and then he goes away and they have like the really intense conversation about like the torture and everything. It kind of like lifts you up before it like kind of
pats you back down,
brings it back down. So this game strikes like a really good tone. Like it doesn't feel, nothing feels out of left field or like too jokey or too dark and serious. It's almost like, hey, it's Star Wars.
Yeah,
this is like the perfect like tone it really should be.
Yeah, agreed.
You land on Dathomir, and Grease makes a reference to the castle on Takadana, which is Maz Kanata's castle in Star Wars Episode 7.
Okay.
That got me going, ah!
Okay, yeah, kind of cool, you know. I enjoy here also, there's a lot of talk about like the Night Sisters and who they are, and that they're Force users, but not necessarily
in the same way.
Yeah, they don't use it like they're not so binary. It's something that every once in a while Star Wars will kind of get into, where it's like not everybody uses the Force in necessarily a straight up like I'm a Jedi, I'm a Sith. Like some people are a lot more flowy with it.
And I like that this is a continuation of a storyline from the Clone Wars TV show.
Yeah, they pop up in all that, and those characters that are Night Sisters in there.
Yeah, like there's a whole bit where like Dooku like betrays them, and that's the whole thing of why they don't like Jedi. But really, it was Dooku.
Yeah.
So,
but they don't. Yeah, them not quite understanding that.
Yeah. Because they kind of let another not so good guy in their midst here.
Yeah, they kind of let. Yeah. We ain't there yet. We ain't there yet.
I mean,
We can tell something's up, but
yeah, but we know from like the
Force Whispers
that something is going on with that dude. Like he's not to be really trusted.
I like that this is the first planet that's like the dark, more scary planet. You know, everywhere else is kind of like flowy and pretty, and here it's like no, man, it's
the equivalent of the poison bog in every FromSoft game.
Exactly.
Like you can wander in here too soon. Like you can go here before as you start your quest, which is really hilarious. Getting here and being like, oh crap, everything wants to kill me and murder me.
Also, like these enemies are a lot tougher. Like the Night Brothers and stuff like that.
Not just the Night Brothers, but the first enemy they drop on you is that like beast. That his killing move, his death animation, includes an attack at you, which if you don't know it the first time is going to get you.
If you don't get good at like doing that last sidestep or something to kind of keep him from smacking you.
Yeah.
We haven't finished up the story here, but we're getting bits and pieces. We are being pursuing a Night Sister who's basically been trying to run us off.
One of the last surviving ones in her tribe. Until she resurrects her other fallen Night Sisters.
Which is a really cool kind of sequence.
Yeah.
They are not the hardest enemies in the game, but they seem they're erratic enough that every once in a while one will grab me. Obviously, we fight the Night Brothers that look like Darth Maul.
Yeah.
But the big things here is as we are progressing to the temple that's here, we do run into a mysterious stranger. He claims to just be a traveler, which is ridiculous because why would you be hanging out here, bro?
Never trust a guy in Star Wars with a black hoodie.
Yeah, it's a pretty obvious he's up to no good. He we kind of leave him be, but obviously he's going to come back around.
This is the point you can get to if you go to Dathomir before you have the double jump that you get from Kashyyyk. You get to him and he's like, you need to go in the temple. And Cal's like, I can't do it yet. He's like, well, come back later.
I like that. Figure it out when you get here. I don't know. I have my job to tell you. I do like the whole sequence as you're descending down. Obviously, we come across some rock that it looks like we could climb if we had some climbing gear. Hint, hint to next upgrade. But the big thing is we start to see bits and pieces of this flying owl-looking guy. And, like, video game logic says that you will fight him. But what I like about it is they let you forget about him just long enough that when you do come across him, he does kind of sneak up on you.
Yeah. This bat owl.
It's a bat owl, yeah. Really, really, I love the boss fight here, though.
Oh, so good.
It's really, really good.
Oftentimes, like, big monster fights can kind of be hit or miss, but this one is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like how, you get your big fight in the arena, and then after doing a little bit of climbing, you get the big sequence in the sky where it's, Kyle's being thrown up through the sky, he's coming down and landing, he's grabbing them. It just is it's a really solid sequence, and it would have been ruined if they would have made you fight him again. The way it ends perfectly. You get the boss fight side of things, and then you get the big quick time event side of things afterwards.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It starts with you climbing the wall, and then him just like climbing after you, and then it escalates to you falling.
Yeah,
down the cliff.
It's like you ride on his back as he flies around, and you get knocked off, and you have to aim your fall to catch him.
I was really bad at this bit. I missed him.
There's a couple of times where he sneaks up on you faster than you think he would, like, so you feel like you need to be like farther along than you are, and you can bypass him a little bit.
Then, like, at the last minute, he'll swoop left. And then
yeah,
like, I didn't account for that.
Yeah, you can be a little bit off with it, but the game's pretty, it's pretty forgiving. It'll bring you right back, like, right before it. It's not super, difficult.
Yeah.
But really, 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 really good. I really enjoy that whole sequence. That's kind of where we stopped off. There's like a little save point like right ahead of you when you land. So you probably should have gone ahead and done that.
Just like down the cliffside, because if you didn't, then gotta go back a little bit. Yeah. I guess I don't know if there's a checkpoint there.
I don't think so, but you probably should have walked over there and hit that save point. We've got our climbing gear. I think we can probably go get ourselves into that temple now.
Yep.
Wonder what will happen. Says the guy who played this game before. But no.
The story starts.
I feel like this last section where the story is really going to be heavy.
All the stuff I remember from the story is in this last section. There's also a lot here where we can kind of branch off and kind of go back to the places we've already been. And I know for sure that I want to go back and explore that fallen ship that we see. There's a good like mini temple where you can go get some loot and like go up in that thing.
Also in the game has like 4 like legendary monsters.
I got one.
I've got one too.
Bogdo.
Yeah, that's the one I got too. I feel like I want to go back and try to hunt down the other ones.
Yeah. There's a lot I want to do in this game that I might wait. I don't know if I want to wait till I like finish the story to go back and do that, or if I want to like kind of take it like as it comes. But yeah, I'm very excited because like now this is my favorite section of the game. There's going to be a lot to talk about like story wise here, as well as like gameplay wise, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, overall, this game might be better than I remember it. It's also cheating that we're playing it on after it's been patched and after like on a next-gen hardware upgrade, so we're playing it at double the frame rate, so combat feels a lot better. Overall, yeah, this game is better than I remember it, and it has me very excited for the future of the series.
Yeah, I think Jedi Survival seems to be... I'm more excited for Jedi Survival than I was. I was excited for it, but now I'm very, very excited for it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because of playing this and being like, and watching that trailer, you see a lot of stuff from this game in that trailer, but then you see a lot more like expansion on it. And it really makes it really helps sell that game.
I was in a Star Wars discussion group, or I still am in a Star Wars discussion group, and one of the things we were talking about after this game came out, I was like, what's your hopes for the sequel? The top thing on my list was Cal with a beard. And when they showed that off, I went, got it, we're good.
That's the universal way of saying that time has passed.
Not only time has passed, but it's like, I'm now trained in the ways of the Jedi.
Yeah, when you become a real Jedi, you get a beard.
Why wasn't Rise of Skywalker good? Rey didn't have a beard.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Yep. Yep.
We can trace back all the problems.
Trace it all back. Not enough. Yeah, no beard. No beard. Ray gets a beard. Good movie. State of the Save at gmail.com is where you can send your emails. At State of the Save on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, State of the Save. All sorts of places for State of the Save. Go follow us on all of them. Make sure you leave reviews. 5-star reviews are very, very, very appreciated. If you leave a 5-star review, we will shout you out in the comment section. Or in the show. We'll say it like right now. Thank you guys for listening. We are excited about this whole relaunch. And appreciate everybody who's been giving us a shot. Thank you again. Stay safe out there.